What up? Welcome back to the pod. You are joining your two favorite people on the internet for the Just Checking In podcast. It is yours truly, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Don Don, in the flesh. I'm joined by my virtual half, my Dalmatian brother on the other side of the screen.
It is giving down.
Qualls, aka.
Mr. Qualified, how y'all doing? This is giving Dalmatian. Not Dalmatian Keith Lee. It's tough.
Yeah, very much. If I didn't have this little fella on my chest right here, we could have been what was it, Ren and 10 from what, Brown Sugar?
Hey, no, it's funny you got your twin on your shirt today though. Cause that you look alike with the way your bun is. It looked like your little hat.
No, what they didn't see before is this bun I felt was tilting to the side a little bit, so I had to screwdriver a light bulb this moment real quick to put it back to the middle. But yeah, that's all I got to give today. I would ask you how you were doing, but I just need to get this off my chest that I think I was experiencing a minor case of heat exhaustion and some dehydration because as the unfortunate adult, I did not eat today. I had a banana and an Ensure. Don't judge my choice of beverage. And then proceeded to be in 90-degree heat for hours on end. So I did not eat until about an hour ago. Not even, maybe 40 minutes. So if I am low energy, it's just because my soul is boiling and I know I'm not in hell. But I'm present. That's all I got.
Your soul boiling is crazy. And not the low vibrational plate to go along with your low energy today. Just a terrible combination.
Very. I need an adult. I don't think that in this moment I was one, but you look more lively than I feel. So how you doing?
Well, I look better than what I've been through. I tell you that. No, but I'm doing good. Yeah, like I finally feel that turn of the corner. I know a couple episodes ago we talked about being in the trenches of adulthood and how they had us in the first half, and we're gonna try to do better in the second half. And I feel like I'm finally starting to do better. I feel like I
Oh, good.
finally got my feet up under me, as the athlete would say. Um, okay, yeah, Callie, I don't got nothing for you. I'm recording right now. I'm sorry. It's okay. Just sit down for me. But yeah, but other than that, all things considered, yeah, things are good. Things are definitely looking up. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, just for the new viewers, if we have any, he does have a dog, not an imaginary friend, because you did kind of just look off to the side to somebody that wasn't there.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm hoping. I didn't think about how that would look or sound to people who don't know. Promise y'all, I'm not promise all the screws are there. Promise I don't got that good of an imagination. Just capping. But yeah, no, things are looking up for sure.
Well, that's good.
How are things with you outside of today and your heat exhaustion?
You know what? I ain't even gonna hold you. They are great. Everything is knock on wood, touch black, throw salt over the shoulder, whatever you got to do for good luck, people. Um, it's good. You know, I had a moment in reflecting in the moment,
Mm,
right? Because this is going somewhere.
mm,
I was on a call today with my manager, and I was just given these ideas of like what I would want to see happen next and where we would go and blah 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 blah. And after that, I got off the call. First of all, she said, "I appreciate your brain," which I love people to say that because how I think is like everything to me. But I was just like, damn, I'm really energized and like I'm reflecting on what I bring to my profession,
mm.
and it's strategic innovation. And that is the gas that's going to propel me into whatever opportunities may come next. If I stay where I am or if I get new ones. But I was kind of reflecting in the moment on that to see where it takes me. So I'm chilling. I'm good. I got my cucumber water. I'm hydrated. Smells great. I got a little at-home spa going on. So yeah.
I'm crying. Cucumber water is top tier. First and foremost, if you don't have a lemon, cucumber will get the job done. But no, I feel like somebody appreciating your brain is a great compliment. because all brains were not made the same and do not operate the same. So if your brain is appreciated, because some people you just appreciate their heart, and that's about all you can appreciate.
Yep.
Somebody can actually appreciate your brain. You might be going places, boy, or girl. You know, you got a good head on your shoulders. You know, inclusive. But no, but strategic innovation for you is that is your calling card. I've always called you the bridge between like generations, and not not in any slight or any way, nothing like that. But you have the power to keep things fresh while also staying true to what you know, what you came up with, but you can apply it everywhere. And you can kind of not code switch, but you can adapt to who you're around, where you are, and still be you. So kudos to you, boss. Kudos to you. But yeah, you brought up reflection. And that is the main topic that we're going to talk about today. And I feel like we talk about being reflective people, but I don't know if we've ever really like dove deep into reflection and what that kind of journey has been like for us. But what inspired this topic is, as you have been watching and as you've gotten me to watch, we've both started watching the Reliving Single podcast. If you are a Living Single fan, or really if you're just a fan of podcasts and TV and that industry, it's a great watch. But Erica Alexander dropped a gem. Simple, short and sweet, but hindsight gives insight. And we hear hindsight 2020, all the time, but I don't think we've ever just really kind of unpacked that, But I guess my first question is, how reflective of a person do you feel like you are, and have you always been that way?
I probably have always been this way. If it's a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most reflective, I'm gonna say 11. Um, I like to I like to understand things, and shit has to make sense if you want Donald to be involved. So, like, if it doesn't make sense, I have to figure out why it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense to me, is it a me thing? So, like, I'm just kind of always thinking about that. Also, I like growth. Like, it's growth. Very important, right? And in order to grow, like, you not only have to be exposed to stuff, but you have, again, to understand. Um, so I probably have always been this way, but not realizing it until I guess later in early adult life. I grew up around a lot of old people. No shade to my family, but I was the baby of an elderly lot. Okay. My sister is 10 years older than me. My parents are 36 and 7 years older than me. I think when I was born, maybe my grandmother was already in her 70s and I was at block club parties and funerals, like just doing old people shit. So I think because of that, I would see what the older group was doing, and then I would go to school and see what the younger group was doing. So while they making beats, Cali, what's good, my guy? Cal, Cal.
Every time there's a large reaction, she thinks it's time to play.
Oh, okay. Well, she just checking in. She like,
Yeah,
hey,
she's checking in with
what
us. What y'all
what the
got going
canines
on?
doing? You know, like let me know. But that's okay. We'll get her mic'd up next time and have her on the episode. But yeah, when all of my friends was like making beats on the lunchroom table with the pencils and shit, in my head I'm thinking of 8 tracks that I was listening to with my grandma, right? So I'm like, is this what kids do or is this what adults do? So I think I've always been reflective. Would you say the same for you, or where do you fall on the scale of 1 to 10?
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 15. Um,
Okay.
and I have always been that way, but I feel like maybe more than reflective, I've always been introspective. Um,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of that has come from uh I wouldn't call them an elderly lot, but I think I did find myself around older people. Um, Love Rita. So I don't think there's a way I can speak to this without it coming off the wrong way. But my mother comes from, a generation that I feel like allowed me to get some wisdom that not everybody in my generation may have got. Being around uncles, my brothers are older. I hung around older guys when I was younger. So I was kind of always exposed in a way to 5 years plus older than me, those ways, those thoughts, things of that nature. So I think it gave me perspective, which allowed me to be introspective, which I
Mhm.
think set the scene very early on for me to know that being reflective was okay. Now, did I overdo it in certain phases and eras of my life? Absolutely. But yeah, I feel like it's something that's always been there. Definitely a part of the foundation of who I am, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I feel like for the both of us, we're on the same page with this. But I think us being as reflective and arguably introspective as we have been at an early age, bred a little bit of overthinking and anxiety in our
Yeah.
adult tenure.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
With that being said, have any decisions that you have made personally, professionally, relationship, family, any decision that you have made, um, do you feel like you have reflected too much on them to the point where you feel like you made the wrong decision?
Yeah, a lot. Way more than I'd like to admit, to be completely honest. I feel like I feel like I've always wanted my decisions to be good decisions, and I've always wanted that to be validated. So I think in kind of seeking that validation, that's where a lot of the overthinking came into play because I was always overly aware, hyper aware of how I presented. Therefore, I was hyper aware of how people saw me, how people looked at me.
Hmm.
From that standpoint, I definitely feel like there were moments where I would be in my head trying to confirm that the decision I made was right, which, as I look back on it, I don't know if that's a confidence thing or I don't know if that's just a matter of what you battle when you're trying to seek validation, but you can easily think yourself out of a good decision or just convince yourself that a good decision is either not as good or just a bad decision overall. And the domino effect of that is so dangerous, so dangerous. But yeah, I've fell victim to it um before. I don't know if there's a super specific one that comes to mind. Maybe not even so much when I was younger, because I think anything kind of pre-college felt like par for the course. And as much as college is par for the course as well in life, I think college, that hyper awareness just skyrocketed. And I started to feel the first effects of those decisions actually having consequences that I got to face head on. There's no getting out of it because I'm a kid or because I don't know any better. Like, now I'm starting to know things and now they're choices. Like now a decision, a choice is being done with enough intentionality and enough background and context that this has a chance to go the other way and you have to be prepared if it does. And there were a lot of times I was not prepared, so yeah, definitely fell victim to it. Would you say you did as well?
Fell victim to.
Just fell victim to, maybe not fell victim to, but the idea of those decisions that you uh not regret. I know we talked before, not so much that you have regrets, but just the idea that you think back on a lot and whether you kind of overthink them or thought they were bad at the time or yeah, anything like that.
Yeah, maybe. I would say that I prefer to overthink than underthink.
Agreed on.
Um, you mentioned something about a confidence thing, and my follow-up to that, you don't have to answer it right now, but my follow-up to that was it a confidence thing or was it a competence thing? because when you seek validation from other people, and that's not always a bad thing, right? We want the approval of something. If you want to pass this test, you need somebody has to tell you, like, yes, you were smart enough that you got these answers right, right? But is it that I'm not self-assured and confident in that, or is it that I just don't have enough knowledge and information to be competent in that? So like that approach is a little different. But to answer your question, I feel like what I have fallen victim to is the decision of inactivity.
Mm.
That is what I feel like if there has been a pitfall in me reflecting on my decision making, it's the ones that I didn't decide to act on. That's in me like dating back in the day and saying like, damn, I went to this party. I wanted to talk to so and so, but I didn't because for whatever reason, right? I didn't decide to do that. Or I want to get in the gym, and I have decided not to go to the gym. So now I'm built like a roly-poly-oly. You're right. So it's just like that. I'm not saying that for myself, right? But I'm just saying in general. When you don't make a decision, that is a decision. But I would say, speaking for myself, when I don't make that decision, that's when I reflect and be like, damn, I should have done something. So now I tend to act more than sit.
Yeah.
Some,
Yeah, no, sitting idle is extremely dangerous. It stops being about right or wrong and it stops being about who's at fault and it becomes about the precedent that was set. Indecision
uh,
sets a precedent of it's a lack of clarity. There's a lack of boundary, that the clear line, there's no line in the sand. There's nothing definitive about what's good, what's not good, what should be happening, what's not happening. So but I feel like it's also ironic that the advice that you typically give people is something that you might actually struggle with, as well. So, no, it's just crazy to hear you say that because that's something that stands out to me because of the conversation
uh-huh.
that you told it to me in and the timing of that conversation. So, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, taking a dose of my own medicine is not something I'm accustomed to. Wanda has had choice words for me about that over the years, so I get that. But I'm curious to know what is a decision you decided to not act on,
Mm.
right? That actually was a good thing.
Ooh, that's a really good question. Um,
We talk about opportunities that we miss out on, right? But sometimes it's good to not have acted on that because for me, while I see you thinking, I say this jokingly, but I also say this seriously. I'm a lover, not a fighter, as I preface this, but the decision not to beat somebody's ass was a great decision that I made to not act on because I was at work. It was a superior by title. You know that I didn't have the best ending at said institution.
mhm,
And there were two times. Once I almost flipped the table, and another I literally almost put my hands on somebody and just beat somebody ass. Because you, excuse my French, but you had me fucked up. Like I don't give a fuck about this name tag. But I was just like, Donald, your future. So I didn't act on it. So that was good for me. But what would be one for you?
I think. Yeah, I think for me, there probably is a professional example in there somewhere. But I think for me, in like inactivity and responding, I feel like I don't know if this is self-control, call it being the bigger person, whatever, but I've always been extremely conscious and very aware of whether my response to something is worth it. And I feel like I've learned the lesson that sometimes responding does nothing for me and it does everything for the person, whether
Hmm.
that was intentional of them or not. They just get more out of it than I do. So I think from that, there have been situations where I've chosen not to respond, or I've chosen to kind of just, and it's not letting it slide. It's just, that's not my fight. Like, that's not for me. That conversation or that thing I want to pick at or express does nothing for me. Um,
Mhm.
and I found that in not saying nothing, time would tell me that, yeah, it wasn't worth it. Whatever happened to them, and you didn't have to be around for it. You didn't have to be included in it. And now there are no words that they can use from you to try to pull you into, being, the bad guy or being wrong or being whatever in whatever they got going on. So yeah, I would say the inactivity and the indecision of just not giving everything a response and not feeling like you have to respond to everything out of pride and ego from the sense of like, oh, if I don't say nothing, how does that make me look or whatever, whatever. It don't make you look no type of way for real. So yeah, I would say that's where that's came into play for me. But that also all comes in eras, and I feel like this was something you said was your favorite part of it is like the eras of decision making. Because I feel like a common theme in this podcast is us being able to pinpoint eras in our life. And even though we don't specifically kind of say that, we're constantly kind of speaking to moments where this is what we did or moments where this is how we feel. So, yeah, like eras of decision making, like why is that the thing that stands out to you the most? And I guess, yeah, what do you appreciate about being able to understand the eras now as you kind of maybe reach, if you consider this to be somewhat of a final form, or if not that, a peak or prime of decision making, so to say? If that's even a thing, that might even be another kind of subtopic to get into.
Yeah, that's true. Because I don't think I'm in my final form. I pray not. I got a whole lot of life to live, right?
Yeah,
But I feel like I am in my most evolved era of decision making.
yeah,
I'm in my mid 30s. I can confidently say that now, right? Straight in the middle. Um, but there was the chaos and the confusion of decisions in my 20s. And that can be split in half, right? You got the front half and you got the back half. The front half, I mean, I was out here fucking up. I got arrested. I got kicked out of school. Those weren't related. Calm down.
Brian, the
Um,
chaos. That's the chaos.
right? The
Right.
chaos. And then there's the calm confusion of your late 20s. Like that's a completely different era of decision making. And it's just like now I want to like plan for the future because I understand that there is one. Because when you 20 something, 22, 23, whatever, like what is tomorrow? Like we fuck it, we ball. Like we here
Yeah.
today. Like, but and then you go even further back, teenage era of decision making. Did you really make decisions? I mean, I don't want to discredit any teenager that is, mature, as they say,
Right.
enough to make decisions on their own, because some people's life experience is different, but decisions were made for me at that point in time. And I was like, okay, sure. But I would say now, if I go from teenage, early 20s, late 20s to now, solid in my 30s. This is my like most evolved era of decision making.
Yeah.
Um, and I stand by everything that I do now. What are your eras of decision making looking like? I know I got a couple years on you, but not that many.
Of course, no, not that many at all. But starting with the teen era, I mean, to your point, you think you making a lot of decisions as a teenager in high school? No, you're not. No, you're not. That could all be taken away in a snap, like Thanos. But I but I think the idea of what the teenager desires, like as a teenager, what you think it means to be able to make your own decision, the
Mm.
freedom that you think it is at the time without any sense of the responsibility of that decision is so innocent and so naive. And I get why people want to be kids again because it's like it's the it's enough freedom it's carefree freedom, right? Like you get to be free without what it means to have the responsibility to live a, I don't even know what words you throw in, how you would define life in that context, but the responsibility of living life, not like righteous per se, but just like the right way with some form of integrity, with some form of accountability. Uh, as kids, as carefree freedom. But within that, I think you start to get small instances like you learn about friends in high school if you so choose to pay attention
Mhm.
to eat the lessons. You can take things from your parents if you so choose to, and decide to heed the lessons. So that's all there. And I think you get an early dose of certain decision making, but I think a lot of it starts in college because it's not only the true sense of freedom, but it's also this bubble of like, yeah, like you're an adult, and you have freedom, but it's very curated for you. It's in a way it's an experiment in a lot of ways, right? Like you're in this bubble where yes, you get to decide all these things, but you're told what A, B, C, and D is, and you just get to decide which one, and you may get it right, you may get it wrong. It's
Mhm.
multiple choice. It depends on how you test with multiple choice. But all of it is a learning process, and I think college was the first time there were just decisions where it's like, yeah, this is gonna backfire, or this did backfire. Yeah, gotta come back from this. Yeah, there is no coming back from this. So what do you do next? I think it's interesting that I don't know how many people are reflective or introspective. So I don't know how many people have the conversation that we're having or have those conversations with themselves. Me personally, I don't know how you couldn't be like having those conversations with yourself, but teach his own, whatever floats your boat. Don't float mine.
You're right. Don't ask me for a paddle because I ain't got. Because I was going to ask, what was there, has there been a cost to being reflective or a cost to your decision making?
I think there's a cost to making the decision that other people don't want to make. Um, if you're the bigger person, if you're the more mature person, if you're the person that's more willing to speak on things, there's a cost that comes from just being the one that kind of has to make the decision or say the thing. But there's also kind of that silent cost of what you deal with knowing that the other side of that conflict or whatever the case may be doesn't understand everything that came with you kind of having to be the one to take the weight of making the decision. I don't think that is the equivalent of people running from accountability, but I do think there are a lot of people that do not like conflict. And if you see disagreement or if you see lack of connection, um, or just not seeing eye to eye as conflict, then people typically are indecisive, and they would rather let things, fizzle out than really just address, hey, this is where things stand. If that is the case, what's going to happen here, or address things. And even if it's not based in taking accountability, addressing things with an intention to be better and move forward versus acknowledgement and the passiveness of maybe with time this just goes away versus the intentionality of, okay, this happened. I understand this. I want to be better at this. So I'm communicative about how to be better and how we move forward. Um, and I think that's something that's undervalued in all types of, relationships. So I would say that cost piece, you have the obvious piece, but you have the underlying piece as well that I think you kind of only comes at your expense if you kind of look at it in the way that I just explained it. But I feel like that's the minority. But but yeah, would you add anything to that?
I don't really have too much to add to that outside of understanding that the cost of your decision making doesn't always have to be lack of accountability on your part. You can you can make a decision and it holds you accountable, but maybe the other people or parties involved, it doesn't hold them accountable. Like you can't, you will always grow, but you can't force the growth. So if I think of like the cost of decision making, for me, it has been the like assumptive stunting of my growth and development as a person. Um, but I didn't want to, oh, okay. She said, I'm tired of this conversation. She said, y'all talk too damn much. Ah, Callie, you got me weak. She said, fuck y'all decisions. But no, I feel like it has stunted my growth. But I use that term in quotations just because like I grew at the pace that I was meant to, but I think going back to like you said, having the confidence to go and talk to somebody that you like, or having not so much the confidence, but like the understanding of self. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever like feel like I ever came out as bi before. I feel like it just kind of developed and people kind of got folded into my life along the journey. But if I knew what I know now years ago, whatever that number was, how different of a person would I be? Because like I feel like a fully realized person, like the self-actualization. So
Mm.
like the cost of decision making of going places, not going places, speaking up, not speaking up, beating somebody's ass, not beating somebody's ass. Like all of those things add to your growth. So like could you have grown faster? Maybe, but I feel like people grow at the pace that they need to. You might keep people accountable and push them along, but I don't know that I would add too much to what the cost is.
No, that's real. And that is so interesting that you say that. And it's great and it's perfect because it kind of segues into our checkout. Ha! New segment. You're welcome. But no, it segues right into our checkout because our checkout was going to be centered around like in everything that we talked about, what would we do differently or what do we feel like we've done differently considering the reflection that we've just given to things in general. But you bringing up that point about like just never really kind of like saying it or like making an announcement, so to say, in regards to being biased, you would not believe how many people either are shocked when they learn it, when they realize it, and how many people either like had an idea but just were waiting on you to say something or
Yeah,
had no idea at all. And obviously I'm aware of my proximity, so I get that like there are like that I would be privy to things maybe that others may not.
fair.
But it's funny because one, again, going back to understanding, the story of me asking you is one of my favorite stories because so I don't, have we ever told this story on the podcast? I don't think so.
I don't know. We have talked about this story before, but I don't know if we've ever it folded into a conversation on the pod.
Yeah, I don't think it's been on the pod, but it is one of my favorite stories. So me and Donald meet spring 17, if you know, you know. And we get pretty close, like, relatively after that, within the next year or so. And I feel like it was within that first year for sure, but we were we at Super Bowl?
So actually, we was at Silver Ball.
We was at Silver Ball doing God knows what at that time. But I I just remember like I've been thinking on this and I was just like, I'm gonna ask. I just want to know. Like, ain't no problem. I just want to know to be sure. I don't want to be going around thinking, saying that I don't know for sure. He seems like he would be comfortable talking about it. Maybe we'll see. So I go, I'm like, we at the bar, and I'm like, Donald, I got a question.
And I immediately knew what you were getting ready to ask me. There was no prior conversation.
There was
We weren't having anything that could have context clues as to what you was getting ready to ask me. it was something on my spirit, and I was like, I know what he's getting ready to ask, and continue.
And so he was like, "What?" And I'm like, "So, uh, how do you?" I was like, "How do you identify?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm bi." I was like, "Okay, just want to ask. Just want that cool. Just I wanted to be 100% sure." All right, cool. And went back, the regularly scheduled programming. But it's just so funny because I also feel like that very much defines us. Like just the ability to ask certain questions where it's like, if it was somebody else asking this particular question,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Like, I just feel like there's a comfort in us asking things without context. And especially early on, I think we asked a lot of questions that in other friendships or other like relationships, it might have felt like, what you asking for? You know what I'm saying? But with us, that always felt natural and
Yeah.
comfortable. But yeah, one of my favorite stories, just because you knew, and I just feel like the entire interaction was hilarious. But
Just as you told that story is literally how it happened. We were literally out drinking, unrelated to that. We was even talking to different people at the bar, like with our friends and fry brothers and stuff, and just happened to be at the bar at the same time. And you were just like, I got a question. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But yeah, that's what that was. But no, it's funny you bring that up because I feel like that was a decision that I've made not putting a stamp on my forehead, right? It's just like if you know, you know, or if you assume it is, whatever. But I always use the example. I do honestly believe I was born this way, right? You just kind of develop into things the same way you were born as whatever race or ethnicity you are. I tell people all the time that I didn't know, oh God, I'm gonna get so much slack for this. I didn't know I was black for a long time. Not in the sense of I thought I was something else, but everybody around me was black. And growing up, we had like maybe 4 or 5 non-black students in the school in the class or whatever. So I was like, oh, I see they don't look like me, but I didn't really know what that was until I had a name for it. And I'm like, oh, I'm a little black kid. Then I grew up and understood like sexuality and stuff like that. I still didn't have a name for it for the longest time. But then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm a by adult, by man or whatever. So it's just like the decisions I feel like come in waves, phases, eras, whatever it is. So I didn't come out, even though on my birth certificate it does say I'm black, and I know I'm gonna get some racial ambiguity shit after this episode, but um that I didn't decide that from the first time I could talk. Like nobody said, "Hey, Donald, you're black. Tell everybody." Right? So y'all just assumed I was black or other things. Y'all just assumed I was straight or y'all assumed I was gay or y'all just assumed what it is. So I feel like my decision to not say certain things about me has impacted or influenced my growth along the way. So I feel like that also has had an ebb and flow in my eras of decision making as well. So very roundabout way to get all the way back to reflection, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, do you in the in thinking of hindsight giving insight, and in this being our checkout and as we close, do you feel like there's anything that you genuinely either wish, or looking back on things you should have done differently? Because I already know you're a person that doesn't really believe in regrets,
Mhm.
but have you had things where it's like, I really wish, like, if I could get a second chance at that, I would do that differently with the insight that I have now, hindsight being 2020.
No,
I think that's good. I think it's good to be
no,
in a place where you don't have that feeling.
I wouldn't. I mean, I would have liked to give it more effort in certain things, but had I done that, I feel like I would go down a different path. So, like, I'd much rather have had the lesson than the win.
I like that. I
Oh,
like that. And I like it because I it was never about the win for me, but there were a couple things I had to take on the chin that were lessons in avoidable losses. And it took
fair.
me it that was a real struggle for me. Like the lesson is one thing, but to kind of have it coupled with a loss, so to say, that felt avoidable is the only thing that kind of makes me feel like I wish I would have stood on something a little bit different, or I wish I would have not been indecisive, and certain things would have been avoidable outside of the lesson that was going to be there anyway. So, no, I really, no, that's real. I really like that. But I mean, I think that's a great summary. You don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know it. And
Right.
and that is literally applicable to all facets of life. And the key is, I feel like once you know it, that is where the real responsibility and accountability comes in of, okay, now with that knowledge, not even so much the idea of, oh, the same mistake shouldn't be made, because yeah, sure, but with that knowledge now, like informed decision making should be another tier, the top tier of decision makings. Like
Mhm.
whether you consider that to be an error or whether you consider that to be final form, informed decision making is the goal, because it's you may not always be right, but if you're making an informed decision, you're putting yourself in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, but that's well said. Come on. Round of applause
Indeed.
from the Domino Brothers, because that's exactly what we look like. Damn, the domino shit.
We look like we come in that little blue tin box. I'll tell you, boy. Blue tin rectangle.
Yeah, so yeah, we are all just figuring this shit out every day. So explore your future eras of decision making
Indeed.
and see what happens.
You can always learn, and you can always and try again. Man, but until next time that we check in with y'all, this is us checking out. We'll see y'all next episode. Peace.
Peace.